You're listening to Real Crime, the Movie Sleuth podcast.
Bow, bow.
We need a little boom shika boom in there.
Well, that music is good enough.
The music's great, but sometimes I think it needs a little more porno in there.
Dude, I'd bone to this song, the music, this song.
It's only like 10 seconds long, so
I
it'd
know.
be quick boning.
Perfect.
Yeah, perfect length. Just get it over with. Yeah. So this is episode 96 of Real Crime.
Old.
Yeah, we're old. We're ancient. Just me, H, and Michelle tonight.
Hip hip. Two girls, one cup.
Yeah. Two girls, one podcast.
Oh.
Yup. Aw, how sweet is that? So,
Hey, I heard that.
I heard a slurping Gerpa. Oh, man. So, episode 96, we're going to be talking about the brand new movie Mandy tonight.
Yeah.
But first, I'm going to get to our sponsors, the Flint Institute of Arts. Make sure to check them out online. Also, projectorscreen.com.
Still with projector screen.
I think they're
That's
coming up.
awesome.
I think they're coming up with for a renewal here pretty soon. And
I hope
Flint
so.
is too.
Yeah.
Somebody owes me some money. Seriously. And then, of course, Cellarman's, the wonderful
Yes.
Cellarman's meadery and bar over here in Michigan. Make sure to check those guys out. Last week, I got to try some more of their raspberry mead when they came down.
Ooh.
How come I never get to be on any show that has mead? It's bullshit. They need to leave some here so I have mead every show that I'm on.
Yeah, you've got a fridge down here.
We need a mead, stash.
I think we can get some from them. I'll ask them. Hey, you
And
sponsor a show.
and I'll drink it. I'm like, oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, oh my God, what are you drinking? I'll be like, oh, it's Cellarman's Delicious Mead.
Ooh.
It is really good, though.
Oh, I've had their mead before.
Yeah.
It is really good.
Yep. Yeah, so news. Scott isn't here to talk about me getting beat up this week, so that's
all right.
good.
I don't think there would be anyone to do it because nobody's out.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
weather's
It's too
been
wet.
awful.
Yeah, it's really damp out there right now.
Moist.
Thanks, Hurricane Florence.
It's moist. It's moist outside. Anyways, in news, Gareth Evans came out today and said that the Raid 3 is not happening.
Boo.
That basically Raid 2 kind of finished off what they wanted to do with the series. So, sadly, no Raid 3, even though we were all kind of looking forward to that.
He's got another movie coming out, doesn't
Yeah,
he?
The Apostle.
Yeah, that's it.
Looks really, really
Yeah.
good. So, I think he's just ready to move on from that story.
That's cool.
In other news, Mystery Science Theater 3000 announced today they've got a new season coming up on Netflix, releasing on Thanksgiving.
The last season was really good, too.
I didn't watch all of it.
It's pretty funny.
I like Patton Oswalt, but I'm not a huge fan of Felicia Day.
Yeah, well, she wasn't on all the episodes.
No, I
though.
know, but like I saw her and I heard her talk, and I was
Oh.
like, I can't.
I like Felicia Day.
Back.
Was Patton Oswalt the host?
Yeah,
No.
he was on most of the episodes that I
Yeah,
watched.
but not the host though. The other guy
well,
is.
what's his name is?
I don't know.
I
I
can't
don't know his
remember.
name.
I can't recall his name.
Tom?
I don't really
Yeah,
watch it.
Tom.
So, I think the bigger
That's
news
still
this
cool
week.
though.
I think the biggest news this week is the whole Disney thing with James Gunn. I think a lot of people were shocked. They thought they were going to scrap James Gunn's script for GOTG 3, and now they are keeping it and using it, according to his brother.
They were probably going to do that anyway.
It makes me wonder if they're really 100% not going to let him direct, because that seems kind of like maybe they're testing the waters with that news to see how people react to that, and
Yeah.
then being like, oh, he's going to direct it too. It just seems, like they had to have had some sort of discussion with him on it to use it.
Right, I would think so.
So maybe they're
He
just like,
must have still been under some sort of contract.
Yeah.
Too. It's not like you can just break that.
Well, he's still getting paid.
Right.
He was under contract for like $12 million to write the story and direct, and they still have to pay him the full amount.
yeah,
Right.
So why not just use the story? It's really funny, though, because some people are like really like super involved in he's a pedophile, he's this,
What?
he's that. I literally had to ban somebody from our page today
For real?
because he was arguing with me all day long. James Gunn is a known pedophile, and
What?
he's this and he's that. And I'm like, he made a couple offhanded Twitter comments.
That doesn't make anybody a
he
pedophile.
never had sex with a child.
No.
That's a pedophile. Yeah, so this guy was coming at me hard all day long. I'm like,
saying that someone's a known pedophile when there's no actual like public like jail.
Yeah.
That's public record.
yeah,
So you could just look that up.
yep. And people on Reddit were freaking out too.
It's strange because it kind of is like weird. On one hand, Disney's like, oh, we're going to fire him because of these tweets, but we're still going to use his script. So which is it? Like, are you like okay with James Gunn or are you not
Yeah.
okay with him? It's kind of
Exactly.
like they're trying to have their cake and eat it too
Yep,
with
yep.
it. So like either pick one or the other. Either if you're going to use a script, you might as well just let him direct it. Just because
Right.
you're already like, saying you're okay with James Gunn contribution to Disney, right? So what's the difference, I
Right.
guess?
Which set of morals is it?
Yeah.
You know?
Which it totally enforces that they're probably gonna just be like, oh, by the way, he's directing it.
Yeah. They're going to be like, oh, it's Games Jun.
Games John.
And he's just got like a twirly mustache.
Yeah, he's got a little
Is he
mustache.
Asian?
Like, wait a minute.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool. A lot of people are really happy about that.
I'm happy about it.
Me too. Why not just use it? I mean, I've never really made comments like that on Twitter, but I think everybody has done something offensive in their past. Something.
I follow James Gunn on social media, and I remember when those tweets actually came out. Like, I remember reading it and being like, huh. And that's literally all I did.
Well, I mean, he used to work for Troma, and
Right.
and during that period of like 2009 or whenever it was, 2008, like Twitter was like no man's land.
Yeah.
and it was all about edgy humor. That was like if you like when they started scrubbing through all these comedian stuff and finding stuff, it was all between like 2008 and 2010 because that was just the style of the humor at the time. It was
Right.
like edge bro stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, like that's
That was
everybody
even
was
before
like that.
stuff
Yeah.
went super viral.
Yeah,
That was
So-
like before.
I mean, he worked
know.
for Underground. Trauma is probably one of the most offensive companies there is. Not in a bad way, or just
But their movies are
Yeah,
offensive.
right.
The
That's what they
material,
do.
The,
Yeah,
content in
shock-
their movies and everything
shocking
is
and
yeah,
stuff.
Yeah.
Taboo subjects or whatever. And that's who he was. That's the group he hung out with. So
I don't know.
I was not surprised whatsoever when that stuff came out. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I was like, they didn't know he was like that before. Like, did they
Right.
not look at
Right.
his resume?
Did you
or-
not see Slither?
Yeah,
I mean, come on.
Again, I'm not defending. I'm not saying anything he did was right. But the
Oh,
fact of the
no.
matter is, a tweet is not sexual abuse of a child. And that's all there is to it.
Yeah.
well,
Makes
Disney
sense.
apparently agrees because they're using some of his stuff. They ain't too good to not use the scripts.
Right.
Yeah. So, moving on from the political spectrum, other news we had this week is that Zoe Kravitz is going to be starring in a series for the Disney streaming channel based on the John Cusack movie High Fidelity. She's going to be playing the John Cusack role, basically.
How
was like
are
a
you going to turn
reboot?
that into a series?
I don't know. It's going to be a series about a record store, and it's going to be streaming on the Disney thing they're doing.
Huh.
I think 10-episode arc is what they said for the first year. So she's a great actress. She's a great actress. I like her in everything she does. So
I just don't know if you could get a whole series. out
yeah.
of that. Maybe I
Like
don't know.
reading that, I was just like, all right, how are they going to make a series?
Like maybe one series. I don't know about more than one.
Yeah.
I mean, you could probably do like an episode could be one day of
it
your
could be.
shift or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know,
Could
kind
be
of like a
High
Clerks
Fidelity
thing.
24.
Yeah,
Jack Bauer comes in to buy records.
it's like I need this record right now.
Chloe, Zoe. Never mind. Anyways, that was bad. So new releases this week. We've got Smallfoot, Night School, in Hellfest.
What's
So-
Hellfest?
Some like kind of smaller indie horror movie.
Oh, okay.
Is
So-
Hellfest the one where it's like this carnival type festival thing they go to, and then it's actually like actual monsters at it or something? I swear I saw something on it.
There's that one, and then there's also the one that we reviewed prior to South by Southwest last year, Bloodfest.
Maybe
They
that's
both-
the one I'm thinking
They
of.
both are like really similar
okay.
in
Okay.
context.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say
Yeah.
I think Bloodfest is the one with the circus thing or
Yeah.
whatever.
I don't remember. So, anyways,
The cast for Smallfoot is really good.
yeah, we missed the screening. It was on Saturday morning. So,
Like, I hope it's one of those under the radar movies. You know, like Boss Baby. Dude, Boss Baby is so awesome. Have
I
you seen
just
Boss?
cannot. No,
Oh, it's
it looks
so
so
good.
stupid to me. I can't.
No,
I,
it's so like it's like crazy, wacky, psychedelic, like really
I've
crazy.
had a couple people tell me it's good, and I just can't do it, man. This looks so stupid.
It's not at all.
Maybe I'll watch it someday.
Yeah, I mean, just one of the.
I don't, it just looks so dumb. I can't.
It's not dumb though. Like it's actually it's not on par with say Up or Wall-E, but it's definitely like Trolls or something.
Didn't it get nominated for an Oscar?
Yeah, it did for like I think art or animation or something like that. I can't remember.
Don't be dumb.
Because there's some really like fun house features in it, like where it's like goes green and psychedelic, and it's really neat. Actually, we talked about it when we did our DreamWorks podcast.
I'm just sad because there's nothing for me to really go see Thursday night. Like I'm not excited for anything this week. So,
what do you get to see?
Yeah, I mean we're kind of entering that like pre-Christmas shit.
Oh, okay.
Where there's just nothing to see. So suggested viewings this week. Do you guys have any?
Well,
okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's an old movie, Lost in Space, because it's on Netflix right now.
Yeah.
I love that movie. The William Hurt movie.
I like it too.
Mimi
I don't know why it
Rogers
gets so bashed.
No,
it's
I don't know
really
why.
good.
It's actually really sweet. And the graphics they don't hold up per se, but they're still pretty cool again. And the movie just looks cool. Everything was... It was funny to see people and their art direction in the early 2000s, what they thought the future was going to be, because it was just a bunch of like plastic and pleather and neon colors and stuff like that, and like spiky hair. And
I think Gary Oldman as Dr. Smith is phenomenal.
Actually, it's funny you bring that up, because he's probably the best part of that entire movie. He really is.
He is.
His when he does the Morse code to pull Will Robinson in, and he's like you can just hear it, and Gary Oldman is a testament to he's a great actor, but the way he suggests to Will and manipulates him so easily. I mean, he is a kid, so it's really easy, but he's just so good at being a sadistic son of a bitch. Like he's just so good at it.
It's the best thing he does, and he does it all the time.
He does do it all the time. Even as Dracula, he was still a manipulative.
Yeah, he was really good as Dracula.
Yeah. I can't wait for the vampire one that we talk about, because Bram Stoker's is one of my all-time favorites.
Those practical effects in that movie are outstanding.
Yeah.
Michelle, what's yours this week?
Well, I figured since we were talking about Mandy, I would recommend Beyond the Black Rainbow, because I feel like a lot of people are kind of hitting it up now that they've seen Mandy and they hadn't seen his previous work. And I think it's a really good companion piece to Mandy, because Mandy's like this really, like intense action-packed thing, and then Beyond the Black Rainbow is this really slow-paced kind of atmospheric thing, but they have similar styles of like color, and I think it'd be a really interesting double feature to have.
Well, Kyle thinks that they kind of cross over.
Yeah,
paths.
I wouldn't be surprised. It seems like a lot of these indie guys are doing this thing where they just create their own cinematic universe, like the guys that made The Endless. Mm-hmm. It's mixed in with Resolution and some of Spring, and like it's really cool. Like they put their own little touches, and you can spot it if you're a fan of their stuff. But
yeah, I dug those too.
Panos even said that they're the same movie, basically. They're just two sides of the same coin. He's even he's even said that, which is really neat, because like you said, they're the complete opposite, but they like converge in the art direction and stuff like that, which is really cool.
I'm actually going to go with Housewife. I don't think I suggested this one yet, but I talked to the star today. I reviewed it a couple weeks ago. I'm not going to say it's the greatest movie ever. It's done on a very tight budget. It's directed by the same guy that did Baskin.
Mm-hmm. Baskin's a cool movie.
Yeah, and it's like total flip-flop, whereas Panos kind of repeated a lot of things with both his movies. This goes from like Baskin just being that awful, terrorizing graphic horror to this where it's much more like Giallo style. It's really cool. Great lighting in it. The story is very minimal, but it's just another one of those movies, woman fighting with her past, and just all these eerie things are happening. And she gets involved in a cult, and then...
Oh, God.
Yeah, it mixes a lot of eroticism in with it, too. So it's just really cool.
Kind of like Stepford Wives and Eyes Wide Shut put together.
Kind of, yeah. Yeah. It's just really kind of weird. It's very slow paced, but I really, really enjoyed it. So
That's cool.
I think that
where
one's
can,
out.
Where can you see that?
I think it's going to be on all the streaming services. It's also out on DVD, but it did not get a Blu-ray release. So.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Well, if it comes to Netflix, then I'll certainly watch it.
I'm sure it will. Because, I mean, so
That's
many of
cool.
the screeners we get,
Yeah.
like, a month later.
Yeah, I always see him on there. I'm like, hey,
We reviewed this.
Yeah.
I saw it.
Yeah.
Endless is on there right now.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
yeah.
is. Yep.
Did you guys watch it?
No, not yet, but I
did.
added it.
I dug it.
Yeah, make sure you watch Resolution first.
That's
You
what
have
I
to watch
told.
that one.
That's what I told.
You can't go
Jess.
straight into Endless. I mean, you can, but it's so much better
Right.
if you watch Resolution.
I
Like,
kind of
way
like when the
better.
two movies converge.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, holy shit. Like, that was really smart the way they did that.
Dude,
So,
I was like, what? It was like better crossover than Infinity War, dude. I was
Oh!
like, what?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
the Resolution, people. And I was like shaking Dave, and Dave had not seen Resolution. He was like, huh? And I was like, never mind. I'll fill you in later.
just you shut up.
I was
Go
like,
pet your dog.
Shut up.
Well, that's an interesting. Well, this is an interesting transition because I haven't seen Beyond the Black Rainbow, and I went into Mandy not knowing anything except for what the trailer showed.
Yeah.
I didn't even know it was the same director.
Okay.
I didn't even know anything, but
Well, they're connected more like, I wouldn't say it's crossover heavy like as like the Endless. Like the Endless literally has shit from Resolution like in it, and you're like, oh my god, and like they
Yeah.
meet each other from different
Yeah,
movies and
yeah.
stuff.
Right.
Like this is more of like a parallel, I guess
Yeah.
you could
Yeah,
say.
yeah.
Like there's just elements that like you're like, oh, that's from that and that. There's
Yeah.
nothing that's like out and out just like, you know, like there's not like out and out just like characters from
Right.
Beyond the Black Rainbow in, you know, Mandy.
Thematically, it's the
yeah.
same.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't
thematically.
mean that in like a literal sense. I
Yeah.
just meant that I had only seen like pieces of Beyond the Black
Yeah.
Rainbow, and then now I kind of actually want to watch Beyond the Black Rainbow like in its entirety because I really enjoyed Mandy and I thought it just looked incredible.
That soundtrack for Behind the Black Rainbow
Yeah,
is
dude.
amazing. I've
It's
got it on vinyl.
Really good.
In
Scott,
like,
you need to watch Mandy. You will love it,
Yeah.
especially
Yes, you
the
will.
beginning.
so Mandy,
It's good. The end.
podcast over.
Good.
Podcast
over.
Um,
You know, in preparation for this, I really didn't want to look anything up
mhm.
because I was afraid that I'd get nothing out of it. And it was true. I literally didn't get anything out of it. When I tried to watch or read, well, I watched reviews on like YouTube or whatever, and they literally just go from beginning to end about it. Not necessarily spoiling or anything, but I was hoping for more of a,
In depth.
like a critical.
Oh, by the way,
Review?
there's going to be spoilers.
Oh,
Anybody
yeah.
that's listening to this, if you have not seen Mandy, turn it off now.
Yeah.
I mean, like, come back though. Come back
yeah,
after you
or
Yeah, come
listen
back after.
and then watch it because
because we're gonna
Because
be
this-
heavily spoilers in this.
this is what I'm talking about. Like, I was excited to do the podcast because I wanted to actually bounce ideas off of,
Yeah,
each other
yeah.
about certain things. And when I looked for that in other reviews and like people talking about it, they were all just like, "Oh, it's psychedelic and there's a lot of red," and they sounded like they've never seen a movie before. They sounded seriously dumb. It was just so I like. And they were
Actually,
all like
had somebody
30 minutes.
accused me of looking too deep into it because somebody had a review and they were like, "It's literally all style, no substance." And I was like, "Oh, well, actually, all this stuff going on." They're like, "Oh, well, you're just reading into stuff that the director didn't intend." I'm like,
What?
If a director makes a movie and the imagery is there, obviously he's meaning something,
Right.
I mean, this doesn't happen in a vacuum. Like,
I
I
mean,
think people.
even if you are wrong, who cares?
Yeah, it's a
you
movie.
know?
It's like subjective, like
Yeah.
how you like.
I think that happens sometimes where maybe we do look for things that aren't there, but this is the type of movie that is meant to put those things there.
Yeah.
Sure.
And to expect us as viewers to look for our own meanings and look for a deeper presentation. And that's all over this movie. It's marketed with it
yeah.
from front to back.
Yeah.
You know?
Even in the super subtle ways, like in the very beginning of the movie, you see Nicolas Cage get done with work as a lumberjack, and he is offered a beer, and he looks almost absolutely disgusted about it. And then later in the movie, he downs a fifth of gin or vodka or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
Like, that's just, I mean, it's a really subtle piece to his arc, you know?
Well,
Like
I think
maybe like he had. I felt like Mandy kind of filled this void for him, like that he didn't need alcohol or
Oh,
anything.
yeah.
Mandy was his drug, basically. You know.
I was
And
thinking that
when she was gone, you know, then he
Oh
turned
yeah,
to.
then it just was like
He was all bets were off.
flooded. Yeah, it just like he couldn't resist it anymore.
Yeah.
He was too weak, maybe.
I think there's comparisons to Nicolas Cage's career in this movie.
Oh sure.
Starts out all level. He's just doing his job. He's an actor. He's a lumberjack. He's just going to work every day, wants to do his job, and then everything starts spiraling out of control. And really, you can make that comparison to his entire acting career. The way he started out one way, and then everything changed, and now he's trying to bring it back to where he was before.
'Cause I feel like
So-
he's kind
I
of
think he's-
subdued in this too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for
people
sure.
act like he's like. I feel like Cage is like Nicolas Cage has turned into like what I like to call a meme actor, where like he's playing himself and everything, kind of like Christopher Walken,
Yeah.
or what's his butt from
Ryan Gosling.
Ryan Gosling, or Jeff Goldblum is another
Oh,
one.
that's
Yeah.
Like they're not playing, they don't disappear into their characters. They're just like themselves in a movie. Like you can always tell these kind of actors because people will always call them by their name and not the name of the character in the movie. They'll be like, oh, Nicolas Cage did this and this and this. He's just playing himself.
Yeah.
But I feel like in this movie, he kind of disappears into the role more. And I feel like people are too fixated on the latter half of the movie when he is up and when he's going crazy.
Right.
When he's actually kind of like giving this really nuanced performance in the beginning. And then he's like, you know, low key, like he's in love with Mandy. They have a nice, quiet existence together, as opposed to once Mandy's burned to death, and then he's doing the toilet thing, which everybody, when I went to theater,
Dude.
laughed at it, but it's not funny.
It's not fun. Why were they laughing?
Well,
I was
because he's
actually-
in his underwear screaming at
Oh.
shit. But
I think a lot of people, I don't mean to cut you off at all, but I think a lot of people get in a social situation
Yeah.
and they see something horrific happening on screen, like somebody mentally breaking, and then they laugh because they're not really comfortable and they don't know how to react to what's
yeah,
going on
yeah.
screen.
because
Yeah.
there's parts of the movie's like purposely funny all the time. Like I feel like there's a lot of like dark humor in it. I feel like that part isn't supposed to be funny.
No, I don't think that was supposed to
Like
be
even
funny
right
at all.
before that, the Cheddar Goblin shit is funny, but I feel like that Cheddar Goblin commercial is like the line of demarcation in the film where it goes from the soft beginning to the crazy shit. Once that Cheddar Goblin commercial hits, you're like, that's shit's just crazy after
Yeah.
it. Right
he
afterwards.
even says he just says that out loud to himself. He's just, you're a goblin. And then he goes to the bathroom and he dude, I was actually I mean, it could be just because I'm a chick and there was stuff going on, but I was getting like super emotional during that scene when he was like, you could see it, you know, like carefully a tear comes out and then he's just like, and then he starts crying and then he just starts raging, and I was just like, oh God, like I literally got misty from it. I was physically moved by it, like for real. I thought it was a really, really good performance, and I can't wait for us to talk about Hereditary, because there's a scene in Hereditary that also really shocked me and moved me. Like I was like, how did they get this
Right.
emotion.
this like for real? Like that was for real how someone would actually react. There was like real serious situations.
Well, somebody was
there.
saying he went through all 5 stages of grief in like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And
He
then
was-
when I watched somebody, I saw that when I saw somebody say that, and then when I watched it again, I was like, sure as shit, he does.
Yeah, he does.
He goes through all 5 stages of grief in like a minute, and then it's like, fuck it. And then like and then after that, he's like, I'm gonna go
do my thing now. I'm
get
gonna go
her-
forge an axe.
Yeah.
You know, I think the crazy thing is Nicolas Cage has had this in him this entire time.
Oh yeah.
And he's spent like the last like literally 10 years. We're not going to get into all the tax shit, but the reason he's been doing all of those straight to video and straight to DVD and streaming movies and shit is because he's paying off tax debt.
Oh no.
He owes a lot of money. So he's been making all these low budget movies that never get into the theaters because they pay him a lot of money.
Yeah.
A few $1 million a flick, you know, because a lot of them are getting more attention overseas than they are here. But I mean, it's really cool to be like, wow, that guy, he's been pretty fucked up for a while.
Yeah.
But he has like this talent, and it really shows in Mandy that it's still there.
Yeah.
Like the Leaving Las
I was
Vegas,
just gonna
Nicolas
say that.
Cage.
Yeah, Leaving Las
he still
Vegas, man.
exists.
Yeah.
It's just in the material he's been given, and like you said, playing himself, being that Nicolas Cage meme constantly. He was in some movie a couple years ago. I can't remember what it was, but he was literally just a side character, and he was only in the movie for like 10 minutes. He was like some kind of professor or something, not central focus at all. I remember watching that movie going like, holy shit, he's not the center of attention, and he's the best actor in this movie.
He's a good actor.
He is a really
feel
good
like
actor.
He just, like you said, he wasn't getting. He's a good actor when a director knows how to use him. And Panos knows how to use him. He uses him pitch perfectly in that film. It's a perfect mixture of low key Cage and high key Cage, and like he lets it build
High-key
up.
Cage.
And like, it's slow in the beginning, establishing shots, establishes character, establishes the relationship. It's not too like contrived or anything. They're just two people dating. It's cool. They have little jokes, like inside jokes, like the Eric Estrada from Chips. That's obviously like an inside joke.
I
for them.
actually giggled pretty hard when he said that.
Me too.
Because
Yeah,
he
it's
was
cute.
like, from Chips. And he
Yeah.
like threw his hip out. I was like, get out of town,
Like it's a
Nicolas
very
Cage.
realistic relationship in the way it's depicted, and I feel like a lot of people, more negative things people have said about the film is that that Mandy is a manic pixie dream girl, and B, that she gets fridged, which she does
I
get
mean,
fridged,
she does.
kind of, but
But, I'm
just saying, like, yeah,
we're going to the same place, you know?
yeah. She's in the whole movie though, to
Mm-hmm.
me. Like, she's like the linchpin of the entire operation of the film. Like, she's in his dreams, she's kind of like guiding him, to
Spiritually, she's there
Yeah.
throughout the entire movie.
yeah.
Jesse was talking to somebody at work, and he had a theory that Mandy isn't even real.
Well, did you guys see the after credit thing
Uh-huh.
where it's like she was drawing a picture of Red and the tiger and stuff?
Yeah.
So that it could be that, or maybe he isn't real.
Ooh. And it's just a book she was writing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's even better. I like that version better than she's not real. Because they don't, what Jesse was saying was because they don't show her in the bag. They show something.
Yeah.
And they show like a mouth, but they don't show that it's actually her. It could have been anybody, really.
Yeah.
That scene was hard.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I was
I
pretty
was
bummed
like
about it.
desperate when I'm watching that. I'm like, that's not her. That can't be her. No way.
I was like,
they're not
how-
killing her like this right now.
Right.
No. And I'm like, oh fuck.
And then afterwards, the chapter is called Mandy. It wasn't
Yeah.
even called Mandy in that when she died.
Yeah.
Spoiler.
Well, I think the guy, what's his name? How you say his name? Roche?
Oh, Linus Roach.
Linus Roach?
Yeah.
He plays Jeremiah Sand, and I think he's actually really good in that role also, and I feel like he doesn't get enough attention in it because, Nicolas Cage's stuff that he's doing.
Oh, he creeped me the hell
Yeah,
out.
but he's like fantastic, and like I absolutely love the part where they kidnap Mandy and they get her like super duper high, and then he's like being like he's just like, look, he's making her listen to the music he wrote, and like he's like, here, look at my dick.
Yeah.
And it's like the funniest. It's like it's funny, but it's also like scary.
It's super disturbing.
Yeah, because he's like every nice guy. And like that's like, oh, why don't you, like every guy that's like nice to you at first, and then if you reject them, they're like, you fucking whore.
Right.
He's like every nice guy that's like, too into himself, and he's like insecure.
Well, and the funny thing, the feeling that I got from that scene was he's done this before. Mm-hmm.
That's how he gets- yeah.
They've done this repeatedly.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just her. He has this down to a science, how he's going to kind of, the
Get
term is
another-
wrong, like romanticize the situation. Like,
Get another one.
It's like he's feeling romantic about what he's about to do. Like, he's going to date her.
Yeah.
But instead of dating her, he knows they're going to basically sacrifice her.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, no, he wanted to
No,
he wanted
he-
her part of his harem.
Yeah.
Oh, that's her. Okay,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
like the other girl.
That's why the other girl, the older
Lucy.
woman, was all mad at her because
Yeah.
she's like, "Oh, new bitch up in here,"
Yep.
like.
And then at the end, she says, Jeremiah said that I was his the best lover because of my sensitivity, and she's trying to she does exactly what Jeremiah does at the end of the movie. She tries to use all of what she can to save her life, basically, and she offers herself up because that's the only thing she knows, because she's been so brainwashed and manipulated from Jeremiah.
The way that scene looks, with like the color shifting and the after trails, and then I absolutely love the part where Jeremiah is doing a monologue and his face is like fading into Mandy's face.
Oh yeah.
Dude, I didn't notice it for like 2 revolutions. I was like, something going on with his face. I was like,
Oh no, I noticed that right away.
Mandy's face. I was like, dude, this fuck tripped me out, man.
I smoked a bunch of weed before I watched this movie.
I was 100% sober when I saw
that
it.
part with the faces like blurring into each other, I actually noticed it right away, and I was like,
that was too cool.
That is cool as shit.
Yeah.
And I think that's the other neat thing about these directors is I feel like a lot of them are especially with this movie, they're falling back on like old school like practical
Movie
effects
tricks.
in lighting and cinematography instead of being like, oh, we're going to throw all this CGI crap in there. I don't think there's really anything CGI in this
there's
movie.
a lot of after touching and stuff done, post-processing.
I watched the Q&A today with Nicolas Cage, Lioness Roach, with Kevin Smith hosting.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of really nice, you guys should watch it. It's really a lot of really cool things in it, but they talk about the practical effects, and Kevin Smith was like, were you excited about it? Because it's, when I got to dabbled in a little bit of horror, he's like, I made the person, he's like, I know how to make this stuff by heart now because I made the guy show me how to do it, and it was the one thing that I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to do was be practical. And he said absolutely everything he wanted to be practical. That's why you got the rubber and like everything that they did was real, except for like a few things or whatever. But he said he got inspiration from Evil Dead 2.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, for sure. So a lot of the lighting effects, absolutely.
Oh yeah, there was another one that he mentioned by Martin Scorsese. Even Flow or something like that, Even Light or Evan. I don't know. I've never seen it. It's an older movie, I assume.
Okay.
But he said those 2 movies inspired him to do the way that they looked and framing and all of that. Really inspired him to make Black Rainbow and Mandy. Apparently, he was making both at the same time. He was writing both at the same time.
It shows, they feel, kind of the same, like, mood, I guess you could say, like, aesthetic. Panos is Italian, too. He's born in Italy, and I feel like that shows through in his use of color and his use of lighting, and, because they feel very, I don't know how to say, like, they feel Italian, because the Italians like to light their horror with the reds and the blues.
Oh yeah,
and
sure,
stuff like
absolutely.
That. And it feels like that kind of, especially Beyond the Black Rainbow, is very much in the feel of those kind of 70s Italian horror films, like Suspiria
I was
or
just
something
gonna say,
like
like
that.
Suspiria, and
but
I'd even go as far with like Black Sabbath, but you know what I'm talking about. And there was another one that I thought of earlier too, but I totally understand.
Well, you know who his dad was, right?
Who's his dad?
His dad was George P. Cosmatos.
Oh.
And his dad made action movies. His dad directed First Blood 2, Rambo.
Oh, that's right.
His dad directed Cobra, which, I mean, totally, it's got that like grindy, nasty feel to it. And then his dad also directed Leviathan and also directed Tombstone.
Oh, sweet.
Oh, sweet.
Which Kurt Russell, they say, really directed Tombstone.
Yeah.
But Panos' father made some pretty great movies. So he kind of came up.
Well, you can feel those influences, especially in Mandy. It's very it's in the 80s, like literally the movie.
Right, it's set in 1983.
But it's like a combination of a lot of different like influences, and I know a lot of people get nitpicky, I guess, when you can spot influences. Like a lot of people have been like, oh, he's taken from this. Like, I can do that with any movie, to be honest.
Right, of course.
Like, people act like there's no directors that don't like steal from other directors. They all have influences. They didn't just become directors in like a vacuum. Like they all have things they're influenced by. It just so happens this movie is more modern. The influences are a little closer to us, so we can pick them out easier.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
But it's like totally like, heavy metal, album covers, Heavy Metal, the magazine, like the comic book,
Yup,
the cartoon for sure, the animated movie that's totally like how she was animated in it. Dragonlance novels, high fantasy novels from the 1980s,
Right.
Forgotten Realms. Like you can just see all the influences in it. You can tell it's like all the stuff he loved growing up, and then he was like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna make a movie out of it."
Right.
Especially the second half. The second half is totally just feels like a fantasy movie to me, like 100%. Like it's not realistic at all. He's like it's totally like some Dungeons and Dragons shit. I called Mandy the best D&D campaign ever. Like it's like.
Yeah.
He fucking forges a fucking axe. Like that's some D&D ass shit right there.
When he starts forging the axe, I was like, what the fuck is happening? How does he know how to do this?
I said the same thing.
This is fucking amazing.
I didn't ask those questions.
Like, it's so out there. It's so whacked. It's so like, what modern person? Okay, yeah, the movie's in 1983. Okay, we get that, but still modern times. What person knows how to forge an axe just out of nothing? Like, yeah, I'm gonna make an axe right now. It's awesome.
And plus, he had a mold, so it's like, is that like a special mold that they get? Like that guy just makes those axes, then they look all badass like that. I mean, but
I think that was just a hobby.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not trying to take away from anything here.
No.
But because I just didn't, like, we talked about it, but I
Yeah.
was really excited to actually physically talk about it instead of like typing to each other. You
Yeah.
know? But it was a little ridiculous, I'll admit.
It is.
Of course.
It's totally
in the
ridiculous.
awesome way though. Like
Of
it's
course.
ridiculous in the awesome way.
But
like,
it felt like something that's like, when he goes in, before he forges the axe, he goes to his friend in the middle of the field and he says, I need the Reaper. And that character is put there to make you think that Red has this past that we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And either Mandy took that away from him on purpose, or that he saw Mandy and felt like she could and he didn't want it, like a John Wick.
yeah.
This was totally John Wick, but just Nicolas Cage with an axe.
I think there was a lot going on with the Carruthers character played by Bill Duke.
Yeah.
I think that was also a throwback to characters that he had played in the past.
Yeah.
Like, it was a nod. It was like, this dude's a little bit older now. We're going to give him this role because we can kind of squeeze
But
him
it's
in
perfect.
here, and he does what he's always done best, and it's so fucking cool.
Yeah, it's perfect. I think, and especially seeing him pull out the vodka, you know, he scrambles for it, but he knows where it is. But I think it's because, and you see it, it's not even, like, he hasn't even touched it. So he hasn't had to use it. So I assumed when he started forging the axe that it was something that he previously did, or, as he started as a hobby, but he has this crazy ass past.
He had
you know?
a previous past as an alcoholic axe forger.
I'm okay with it.
I'm okay with that too.
I am too.
But it's pretty. It's pretty obvious. Like there's like these little hints and stuff of to like when he first. It's so cool when you watch it again too. Like when he's fighting like the one Cenobite guy, and when he's like hooked up to the pipe.
Cenobites, there we go. That's what I was trying to think of.
And
Sorry.
they like cut his shirt. And he's like, "This is my favorite shirt." And then at the end of the movie, you find out that's the shirt he was wearing when he met Mandy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why it's his favorite shirt. Like it's like, oh, you know, like all. But yeah, like he probably had like a badass past, and he was like all crazy and shit. And he met Mandy, and he was like, "I'm gonna put that aside and make a life with Mandy."
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
I
they
actually-
kind of force him out of it again.
I really like that scene that they showed. I'm glad that they put that at the end.
Yeah.
Because, well, here's the thing now. If he's not real, then I'm trying to just like piece it together. But I love that scene because they don't say one word to each other. They just meet, and then she starts to cry. Like she can hear him talking to her.
Yeah.
And maybe saying like, I need you, you're right for me, you know, I want to leave this life, or whatever, you know, like that's just my inner monologue when I saw it.
Because
But
she
her-
obviously had a troubled past too, because she tells that story about the starlings.
yeah. Oh
and her
my
Well, and
family.
she's got the
God.
scar on her face.
Yeah, something
Yeah.
happened to her. Like
Yep.
there's obviously two troubled people that found
Yeah.
solace in each other in a
No, it's-
relationship.
It's super romantic.
Yeah,
They
I mean,
really played her down in this movie because I just brought a photo up of her.
Oh yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
she is
she's
like
gorgeous.
drop dead gorgeous.
She was in Oblivion Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
She's in Black Mirror, the episode where she kills the baby.
Okay,
Even the
yep.
baby is blind, and they use the fucking, what was it, a guinea pig?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was like a
I
hamster
love
or
that
some
episode.
shit.
Yeah, that's great.
She's been in a lot of stuff.
She's been in a lot of stuff, and she looks totally different.
I like how they made her look though, because it's
she looks like an 80s metalhead.
yeah, she looks like a low key 80s chick, and she's obviously had like some issues in her past, and her eyes are so really expressive and beautiful, and I don't know. I thought it was cool they kind of downplayed her looks a little bit.
Oh yeah, and she's working in that store.
Yeah.
You know, like out in the middle of some rural community. You know, she doesn't need to be all made up.
Yeah.
And like really fit that community, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, it's perfect. Yeah.
I just finished season 2 of Fargo, and I don't know if you've actually watched it or not.
No.
But dude, watch Fargo.
Yeah.
Yeah, for real. But there's a similar, like, that's why I want to know where it was filmed, because it's very similar. I imagine it was in like the northwest, or like Minnesota or something like that, because that's exactly what the season 2 of Fargo looks like, and it just reminded me of an episode of Fargo, just not as redonkulous, but
Yeah.
Fargo gets pretty intense, and it does that. It starts like that. It starts very slow, and then it just.
That's that guy's style, because he does. He's the same guy that made Legion, that
Oh, yeah,
superhero
that's right.
show.
You know, it's so funny. It's they're both on FX, and there's tons of people from Legion
Yeah.
in it.
But that's how he
you know.
that's how he makes Legion too. It's like it starts out kind of whatever, and then it just starts getting all crazy. Like
Yeah,
every
like out of
episode's like
nowhere.
that. Yeah.
And then every episode after that is just even more on top of the other. Chris, you need to watch Fargo.
Okay.
Yeah.
So why do we think this movie is resonating with so many people? Because it's funny. Like, this was like, it wasn't even released in theaters really last week, other than like little things like the Detroit Cinema Detroit. It didn't get a theatrical release,
No.
but this was one of the biggest movies the last 2 weeks.
I think they thought it wouldn't do well because it's weird looking, and it's kind of artsy looking. And it's funny because they were saying like they did not expect the reaction it got.
Right.
Like, I saw a trailer this a long time ago, and I was like, oh man, this was like my number one anticipated movie.
Me
Yeah,
too.
I remember you posting it.
I was like pooping about this movie for like fucking months, and then I saw it and it was just as good as I thought it was gonna be. But I feel like Beyond the Black Rainbow was also like this really cult underground sleeper kind of a movie. Like when people have watched it, they're like, wow, but like nobody's ever heard of it. Like when you bring it up in a casual conversation. But Mandy, I think because it had the Cage factor, we'll call it, I think that kind of helped. I think the simultaneous VOD release got it some word of mouth that it wouldn't have if it had been in limited theater, if it had been just the limited theater.
Yeah.
And then people were on, and then I think it just kind of blew up on social media. Cause
It was more accessible than it.
I was just going to say it was definitely more accessible than a movie release.
Because it literally was not playing the only place it was playing was here at Cinema Detroit, and like it was like Grand Rapids or something was the other place. Like it was very, very limited.
See, you would think with something like this, it would be at like the main art.
Yeah.
They
or
might get it,
Birmingham.
maybe, or something.
If it was the main art, it would do really well.
What's the one in Birmingham? The Maple?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Maple.
There we go.
Yep.
They get a lot of like artsy stuff too.
And I'm actually surprised that they're not picking up on that now, because sometimes you'll see something go VOD and it gets really big, and then they'll pick up a
They
small
might
theatrical
still. I mean, it
run.
only came out like a week or two ago, so maybe they'll kind of get it some bigger releases.
It's just crazy to me because, you know, it's this underground horror movie, and like everybody's talking about this movie.
Yeah, when it came out, my feed was blown the fuck up about Mandy. Like it was like everybody was talking about it, just everybody. It's crazy. I didn't think it would get that popular, to be honest. But
well, see, like the only thing I knew about it was from the trailer that you showed, and I thought that it was going to get like a bigger release because it had Nicolas Cage in it. So I'm actually I'm not glad, but I'm happy that it's getting the traction that it deserves, because this movie is leaps and bounds. You know, like this movie is super cool.
And I think it benefits from being seen on a bigger screen, too, because the visuals are just fantastic.
Oh, they are.
Like, just from beginning to end, it's just such a crazy-looking movie. And it's so stylized, though, that I feel like that's why part of why it's so divisive. Because I've noticed that people aren't, like, ambivalent towards it. Like, they're either like, it's the greatest thing that's ever happened to my face,
Right.
or I fucking hate it.
Yeah.
I've never seen anybody in between those two
They're
extremes
like,
on it.
Yeah.
And now that it's getting popular, now you got the old, people that just because something's popular, they don't like it.
Yep.
People coming out of the woodwork
Yep.
now. But I could see why somebody wouldn't like it, because it's stylized to such a degree that if you're not down with how that looks, you're gonna be fucking mad the whole movie because it looks like that.
Because the whole movie looks like that.
And it's very specific, like, aesthetic it's going for, like that, like psychedelic heavy metal cover Dragonlance book. Like, what is that? Like, that's like such a weird combination
what did you say,
of things.
a pot smoker's van?
Oh
or
yeah, I
whatever?
said it looks like the side of a stoner's van.
Yeah, totally.
From like
I like
1983.
I know. I like how we both came up with the stoner van reference.
There's one movie this really reminded me of, and I've not seen anybody make this comparison yet, so I'm going to throw this out there. This movie, if you took the Mandy element out of it, it's very, very similar to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.
Ooh.
Where Dennis Hopper basically goes into hell to take out the entire family, and he's in all those crazy ass rooms and is just killing shit.
I like that movie. Everybody hates it. It's like
I like that movie too.
I mean, it's not like good. It's trash. Like,
oh
good,
yeah, it's total trashy good.
but it's trashy good. Like, trash piece good.
Dude, I even love 3.
I like 3 too.
3 is insane.
3 is Leatherface. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was good too. It was like in the cabin in the middle of the woods, which really didn't make sense in Texas, but
Right. Yeah.
but it's still good.
Jesse compares Mandy and Upgrade.
Oh yeah.
He says that they're the exact same movie if you take out like a few things.
Well, I think you get a lot of tropes that are repetitive throughout a lot of things. But yeah, Upgrade's awesome too.
Yeah, Upgrade is totally badass.
Well, Upgrade and I think Mandy are like this new interesting. I think people are getting tired of big budget stuff, and they're not ready. Like, there's no mid-budget movies anymore.
Yeah,
it's all either super indie, like micro-budget stuff, or it's like fucking Marvel $10 million bazillion dollar movies. There's like, there's no mid movies. Like, Upgrade's a perfect example of a mid movie. It's like kind of low budget, but not so low budget that it's like you can tell, but it's not like a blockbuster thing, so it gets to be kind of subversive and transgressive.
Yeah, I think it was like $10 or $12 million. Yeah.
Those mid-budget genre films are like great because you can kind of explore all this different stuff without having to worry about big Hollywood executives, busting your balls, but you have enough money to where you're not scrambling and like kind of like
going to the dollar store to figure shit out.
It's like a good medium thing, and I feel like Mandy's also in this like mid-budget kind of. It's got the indie feel, but you can tell it has a little bit of money behind it. Well,
I think with these movies like Mandy or Upgrade, when they do have less of a budget, you can't do all the things you can do with $100 million.
Right.
So being limited to $10 or $12 million, you have to create. You have to literally create the visuals. You're not doing it on a computer. You're doing the practical effects. And I think those limits are awesome because they
bring more
better
out.
looking.
Yeah.
It's why the old
textures.
Star Wars movies are better than the new ones.
Oh my God,
because Lucas
yes.
had less money and therefore had to be more creative and like more passionate. And then when he was given infinite money, then he went to shit kind of, because he didn't have to like,
Yeah.
I don't know why this is like a phenomenon, but it is like the more money, not necessarily always more money equals bad. And I want to say that,
No.
but I feel like
Oh, my purse is still
a little
wet.
diversity helps.
Well, it's the same thing as when you get a new car that has a really cool stereo in it. You're like, oh, now I can do XM, and now I can plug my phone in, and I've got a GPS too. You want to use all those new tools that are given to you,
whether you need them or not.
Right, and I think like with Star Wars that in movies like that, like they're given this massive budget, and it's like, oh, well, we didn't spend all that money yet, so let's add an extra 150 X-wings in here.
Yeah.
And, make shit.
Dude,
More.
I'd be like, all right, we need to have a rap party, and we're going to use the exact money I want everybody to have a steak dinner on Wednesday at 8:00, so we're gonna use that money. Like, I
Yeah.
would just spend it on like the cast and crew, like drinks, food,
No, they
whatever.
have to account for it though. So that's what accountants are for.
Well, I know, but I mean, it's being put to good use. It's not like it's being wasted or anything like that. Like,
Right.
if you've got what you got for the movie, if you have enough for the movie, I'm saying,
Yeah.
put it to good use. Pay somebody to cater to the, I'm just, you need to
Hookers
live.
for everyone.
Fuck it.
I'd be interested to see like what money Mandy has made versus what the budget was.
Ooh.
I wonder if it's made a lot over the budget or.
How much was Mandy?
Well, you guys keep talking, and I'll look that up
Alright.
for you.
Well, Well, we
trying
can
to
talk
think
about
of-
the themes of Mandy.
Ooh.
I really found this interesting idea of like, I was thinking of this when I first watched it, about how if you contrast like Red's character and Jeremiah Sand, like how they're like these two sides of masculinity. Like Red is like this hyper aggressive alpha male stuff.
Right.
And then Jeremiah Sands is like this, he's like the insecure, fragile male ego side of it. Like, he can't even handle somebody laughing at his dick without wanting to burn him in a bag, and like they clash, and I love like Sand's character, like right at the end he says, "I'll suck your dick, man."
Yeah.
That is like the greatest line, and I don't think it's necessarily like even homophobic or anything. It's just like he is
He's
like
so desperate.
he's so desperate,
Yeah.
and like he is like giving himself to Red, like sacrificing himself to him, like, "I'll suck your dick, man, I'll do whatever you want."
I got these cheeseburgers, man.
Yeah, it's like, it's just such an interesting, like, I love the way his character is, because like he's always going between thinking he's a god basically,
Right.
to like
to this
crying
super-
with his mascara running in the mirror, like, "I'm not good
Yeah.
enough."
Shut up. Yeah,
It's so
like,
great. Like, his acting is so good in that.
He was in the Q&A, he talks about that scene and how he talks exactly about that, like how he thinks so highly of himself. And he said that the actor, I'm saying, he said that he's been on like spiritual quests and stuff like that. So he's been around people like that, and he can pick out the ones that are the narcissists and the ones, so that's what he drew Jeremiah from. Like, he was like, "Oh, well, I've been around these people exactly, so I'm going to act like that." And he's like, not to obviously that degree,
Right.
But
that's how a lot of those cult leaders are. They're
right. Like, drink the
narcissistic, but
Kool-Aid,
they're
man.
also insecure. You
Yeah.
know, like, have you ever seen The Master?
oh yeah, that's great.
The cult leader in that is exactly the same way.
Oh,
he's,
yeah.
he's like simultaneously thinks he's the best thing ever and like the worst thing ever.
Yep.
So there's really no financial information out there other than the budget for the movie was only $6 million.
It's gotta have made
Are
more
you
than
serious? That's had to have made more money than the first weekend.
Oh, I would think so. I mean, just from Amazon and
Yeah.
iTunes sales, it's got to be easily over.
Well,
I would
that's
think.
good.
I
$6
would
million is
think.
not a lot either.
I mean, $6 million is not. Like, do you know what I could do with $6 million?
I couldn't do anything. I'd suck at it.
I wouldn't suck at it. I would pay people to do it for me with $6 million.
Suck your dick, man.
Yeah, I got these
For
$6
$6
million,
million.
man.
Better be a good blowjob
I mean,
for $6 million.
why not?
Better last a week.
God, if that lasted a week, my face would fall off.
But man.
Yeah.
Oh, and the music in Mandy, that
Oh,
was
man.
Johan Johannesson.
Oh
is that how you say
gosh!
his name?
I was kind of hoping to end on such
That
a
was one of his
horrible
last
note, but yeah, it was
scores.
it was the very last thing that he worked on before it passed.
Man, and it was like, it's
It
like
was
fantastic too.
Yeah,
And they start out the movie with King Crimson.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
Scott, you have to watch this movie.
Yeah,
'cause
this
they
is a
use
Scott
King
movie.
Crimson.
It's like basically a doom metal album
Yeah.
cover come to life and
Yeah.
made into
It is.
a movie.
It's seriously a doom metal album, start to finish, like music wise and everything. That's so funny.
I've noticed a lot of like people that are into heavy metal a lot, and like they're like the pickiest motherfuckers on the planet too, and they nitpick
Scott.
everything. They hate everything that's like metal.
Scott.
They've been kind of shitting on Mandy, like, "Oh, it's fake poser metal stuff," because like everything's poser to metal people. Like nothing's ever good enough ever. Even the bands they like, they hate.
Even in the
So like
Q&A,
Star Wars fans. for
Yes.
sure.
Oh, for like Star Wars
But yeah,
fans?
I've seen a couple of heavy metal people, purists, be like, oh my god, it's like poser stuff, you know, Bieber do, and yeah.
Johan Johansson in the Q&A, Panos.
Penis.
Yeah, there we go. He says that him and Johan Johansson bonded over Icelandic doom metal. So it's like that's why he agreed to do it.
And it's cool because the soundtrack is like very synthy, but it's also very like it's got the doom metal riffs like spliced into it too.
Mm-hmm.
And there's actual whole parts where it's just like the doom metal stuff, and like there's like barely any synth. And like Mandy's theme is fantastic. Like she has her own theme music, like the love theme, and it comes back later. And I had when I was writing my review, I put the OST on YouTube in my headphones, like as what I always do when I write reviews. I listen to music, and I was like, man, I kept like getting distracted because this fucking soundtrack's so good.
So good, yeah.
You know that shit's coming out on vinyl.
Oh,
it is. I think there's 3 different versions that are coming out.
It matches the visuals perfectly.
Yeah.
It really does. The whole movie is just one compliment after another, you know?
Yeah.
Almost like a music video.
Yeah.
In many ways.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
like a long music video for sure.
But yeah, those visuals in the end when he basically goes into hell for the most part, like that shit's brutal. Really from when he fights the Cenobite fuckers.
Yeah.
You know, from then on. And the chainsaw scene, oh my god! I'm like that.
Oh,
look at the blade on that thing.
That brings me to the one gripe that I do have about the movie. The one, what I call it a snafu. I called it one snafu. Was the chain? How he like perfectly wraps the chain around the dude without a weight. Like in physics, that wouldn't happen. That's just not possible. So there's a fantasy element there.
Escapism.
That's the only thing. I mean. Because that just wouldn't happen in real life. I don't care how heavy that chain is. It would not perfectly wrap around a neck like that. So, and it didn't take me out of it at all. I'm just like, no. Like, that's all I did. And then he pulls him down on the chainsaw. And I was like, yes.
That happens all the time, though.
Oh, I know.
In chainsaw fights.
In chainsaw fights.
Only in chainsaw fights.
Jesse said that it almost feels like it might have been a mistake. Like they just couldn't figure out another way. Or I don't know. He'll have to explain it. He could explain it better. But he said
that movie where somebody's like throws an axe at somebody's head and hits them square, and also forges an axe, like previous to that.
I mean, that goes towards your fantasy.
I didn't think about the chain thing at all. Like it's the least the whole last half of the movie is so fucking ridiculous. Like
true.
Like anything.
Dude, that axe scene was so badass though. That was such a that was like an honorable death. Yeah. When he sticks it in the mouth. He slowly just.
And he let the girl go because he knew she was victimized.
Yeah, that she wasn't.
He only killed like people that he knew were like dicks. Like he left the other girl alone.
She's so brainwashed though that I feel like that she's in it now. You know that she's a part of the problem now. Yeah. It's too late for her. Because she's there. Then again...
Maybe she reminded him of Mandy a little.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, and he felt bad.
Yeah. There's actually a moment that's kind of similar to that.
Still to save her. Sorry.
Yeah. No, it's okay. But in Lone Wolf and Cub, and I think it's the second or the third film, the main samurai guy lets one of them go. Like he's an assassin and he kills everybody. And then there's one woman he lets her go because she showed some kindness to his son. And it's like that exact same dynamic. Like he looks at her and just lets her go. And then they do it in that movie too. It makes me wonder if that was like an homage to that or something.
Oh, maybe. I mean, I wouldn't doubt it. But it's very possible.
Oh, and I found out that the Cheddar Goblins commercial was directed by the same guy that did Too Many Cooks.
Ah, perfect.
Yeah.
And that's not even a real commercial. But I distinctly remember, maybe this was in the 90s. I remember a really fucked up commercial, like not the Capri Sun commercials, but like a food commercial that had some crazy ass monster, not barfing all over kids, but basically it was just
well, I'm sure they were satirizing something.
Yeah,
There's something this was based on, and they were like trying to get into that era.
Yeah,
and there's all kinds of crazy shit that was coming out.
Oh yeah,
with breakfast foods and shit like that.
Yeah, for sure.
You can buy Cheddar Goblin merchandise now.
That's perfect.
There's like hats and shirts, and like you can buy boxes of it. That's just Cheddar Goblin.
They're gonna make millions off of Cheddar Goblin.
They should have they're gonna make a spin-off movie called Cheddar Goblin.
Cheddar
Revenge
Goblin.
of the Cheddar Goblins.
You never know. You never know.
Oh, another really cool thing from the Q&A, Linus Roach or whatever, he says he calls him Jeremiah a god at one point, and then the very opposite, he called him like a golem because he was so like, I was like, ooh, that's so cool. I mean, I hate Lord of the Rings, but whatever.
Do you think the ending is happy or sad?
That's a good question.
I've actually thought about that, and I don't. Considering the way the ending looks, I'm not sure he's even. I think he's still there.
Yeah, he's still crazy.
I think he didn't oh, this is him leaving there. I think he's still there. I think he's stuck there now.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Oh, stuck as a maniac now?
I know, because he enters their like hellish, the hellscape basically.
Right. Oh, and
then
he
at the
looks-
end
lights it
he
on
drives
fire.
out of there. Correct?
Yeah.
He's in the car at the
Yeah.
end, and then they like pan up and show the sky, and it's all fucking eerie
Oh, that's
and
right. Yes.
crazy looking. I think
Like one of Mandy's paintings.
he's still there. Like I don't think he
Drove away.
drove away. I think there's
He
like
could have just died.
he could have
in the
died.
fire.
He could have died there. But I don't think there's like redemption with this story.
Yeah.
No, I don't think it
think
was supposed to
he's
be.
like, I think he went back off the deep end.
Well,
he
I
got
think-
back to where he used to be in life.
Yeah, because he
And now
lost
he's
Red.
stuck. I think
Yeah.
Because
kind of-
Mandy was the only thing keeping him
Keeping him back.
right.
Keeping him, what's the word?
sane.
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 Yeah. No, I get the feeling
She
that was
tethered
not
him.
a happy ending.
That's how I took it too.
Yeah.
Well,
Like
they even say like when he talks to the guy in the trailer, and the reason that the Cenobite guys are like that is because they took too big of a dose of the LSD, and he says it fucked them up forever. Like they weren't. He's like, man, they took too much of the bad stuff, and they were
Yeah.
never right after that.
Right.
And when he goes into their house and he kills them, and he does that little dab of it,
Yeah.
I think he's permanently like seeing an LSD trip, and he can't come out of it anymore. And that's why the world looks like that. I feel like
Okay.
I think he's just crazy now. Like I feel like he has the same issue that the biker guys had. Like
Right.
he's stuck in a trip, and that's why you can see Mandy. He's like just tripping.
Dude, that guy in the beginning, he downs an entire jar.
yeah.
Good God.
That's why they're so crazy. They're
Well,
like
yeah.
tripping all the time. You know, and they're like that's why he says they like pain. They're just all they're not
They're so
on our
oh my
plane
They're not
anymore.
on our level anymore.
But he
Yeah.
wasn't. I don't know. He didn't do enough to like.
Just that little, he
I know,
literally,
just
that's
that
so
little
funny. He
dab.
was like, just touched it and he fucking blew his eyes up. Can you imagine, like, any more than that?
I know, like that dude chugged a mason jar. Of
Yeah.
it.
I love the effect on their eyes when they would
Oh,
trip
yeah.
and just open their whole eye up until, like, you couldn't see their iris anymore.
When she brought up the dropper,
Yeah.
I was like, ooh, somebody's getting high.
And then they stung her with a
and
big
they
grody
stung
ass
her.
bee.
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck?
Probably
Ew.
because the poison just heightened it.
Yeah.
Like when you roll, you're supposed to drink orange juice.
I called the cherry on top.
Yeah, I was like,
Ugh.
ugh. Yeah, for real. That's
I forgot
oh,
about the
man.
bee sting. I
Yeah,
totally
or
forgot
whatever.
about
That was like some crazy ass hornet thing or whatever it was. And when he goes to see the maker, the chef,
Yeah.
if you will, there's a bunch of bugs on his counter
Oh, yeah.
while he's making it. When he's touching the sheet, there's like bugs there.
Was that Richard Brake? Or was that...
Yeah, I don't remember his name. Yes, but I think you're right.
He's the guy who was in 31 or whatever, and he was the only good part of it. Is that who played
He's
the
I
the
think
cook?
so. 31 was terrible.
Yeah, it was really
He's in a tons of stuff. He
Yeah.
he was just in like the previous season of Supernatural. He's in tons of
good.
stuff.
Yeah. I absolutely love that part, though, because it's so cool, because all this crazy shit's going on, and then it's quiet, and then he comes in, and the guy's, like, cooking the shit up or whatever, and the guy, like, can already tell, like, that Nick Cage is, like, gone, and that he's... You know, obviously, because he makes the stuff, he can tell if people are on it, and I think
Right.
he's on it too.
Oh yeah, he tastes it.
Yeah,
And
then
he's
I
like,
think,
it's good or
Yeah.
it's perfect. And
I
then
think
he talks
that's
about the
what
tiger.
puts them on their level. I think like if you're on the LSD, somebody else has to be on the LSD to like communicate with you, kind of. So like they're like it's like a different plane of existence or whatever.
Yeah.
So because he wants to taste it, then he sees all that black shit around his feet. He's like, oh man, like
They're
you got a lot of
millipedes. And he says it. He's like, "Do you see that?"
yeah. It's his hate.
Oh, it's so great. What do you think the tiger means?
I don't know.
Because he's wearing the tiger.
I think it's just
The tiger in the
symbolizes
middle of
him.
him. Yeah,
maybe.
you think so? That's just like his
spirit animal.
His
If
Yeah, I was
spirit
gonna say it's
animal?
like his spirit animal, maybe
Yeah.
his favorite animal. You know.
Doesn't he wear? He has a shirt with a tiger on
Yeah,
it.
that's
Yeah.
how it starts.
Yeah.
And then you see the tiger, and he says, "I know it's good when she's calm."
Yeah.
And then he because then he
And now
and
the
then-
tiger's out of the cage,
Yeah.
just like Nick's been released from his cage.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if like the tiger just represents red in
Tigers are
general.
really 80s too.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like there was
that's
a
true.
lot of tiger shit in the 80s. I'm serious though.
just all over the streets.
Yeah, just tiger shitting everywhere.
Because, I mean, at the end of the movie, it's interesting that the tiger is like his wisp, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm wondering if, like you said, that maybe she was just writing a novel and that
Yeah.
Red isn't the one that's real. I'm going to go home and talk to Jesse about that as soon as I get home. Be like, open the door and slam and be like, Red's not real. It's
Well, that's
just a
that's
fantasy
how I
novel.
interpreted it. But since
that's
it's like
great.
also afterwards too, so you could be like, oh, it's like a little more of a reinterpretation of the stuff. Like maybe
Yeah.
it's not like canon or whatever.
Right,
but,
right.
But you know,
No,
I thought it
that's
was
a
kind of
really-
cool.
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective because I hadn't thought of that at all. I actually really thought that was in real time, that all of that stuff was actually happening. But it makes more sense as a fantasy
Yeah.
that he's not real,
You know what I really like about
especially with the fortune
about
of the
both of these movies though?
Which one?
Beyond the Black Rainbow
okay.
and Mandy, these are like one-offs. Like we said before, they exist in the same universe. He's even said that they kind of hold each other's hand.
Mm-hmm.
They exist in the same world. But like it's the rare instance of a horror movie because everything gets a sequel now.
Yeah.
We're not going to get that.
No.
And I like that I don't have to think about how are they going to fuck this movie up by making a part 2 because it's never going to happen.
I
love it that it's a standalone story. There's not going to be anything else made of this. Maybe he'll make a third movie, make this a trilogy
Yeah.
that all
Yeah.
kind of revolve around those same ideas, but they're not really directly correlated to each other.
Yeah, that's a better idea of how to.
Isn't that like how Old Boy is? There was 3 of them.
Oh yeah, the
Yeah.
Vengeance trilogy.
Yep.
Yeah, there you
Yeah.
go, like that, right?
Like a one uniting theme, but
Yeah.
3 completely different films.
yeah. Are those Endless guys gonna make another movie?
Well, the Endless ones, it's
Spring.
Spring and then
Oh, they have-
Resolution.
Oh.
And then because one of the chicks from Spring is in
Right.
the Endless. That's like the same thing. They did like a trilogy, like loosely. It's in the same universe, but they're
Yeah.
not. Well, Resolution and Endless are straight connected. Like those
Yeah.
are.
For
I
sure.
Yeah,
honestly,
they actually cross over.
Yeah.
So-
I honestly think you shouldn't watch Endless without watching Resolution first.
Okay.
Like it's just you're
You
just
wouldn't get it.
missing. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're just missing so much of the story.
When they get to the RV in the last one, I was like, oh shit! Like
Yeah.
now it's all, and then the cabin. I'm like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
It's all in the same place.
Yeah, it's
That's
cool.
what I'm thinking. Maybe Beyond the Black Rainbow and Mandy are their film, or it happens at the same time. Both of them are set in the 80s, and then when the only thing I know about Beyond the Black Rainbow is that she escapes. Spoilers, is that she escapes her
Yeah.
prison.
Yeah.
And when she walks out, it's like this vast area, and you can see like a mountain range and stuff like that, like in the background. Like she has no idea where she. I mean, that's all I remember
I
about
think
it.
Kyle said he believes she's entering in Beyond the Black Rainbow as Red is leaving.
Ooh.
I think that was his
Yeah.
thing that he said the other day. So I don't know.
Ooh.
There's probably nothing to that.
Oh, of course.
but-
Like it's all speculation, which I absolutely love. And he's even Panos has said that this is straight up just a revenge movie, and that he loves the idea of a revenge movie. It's one of his favorite genres.
too.
You know, and there's this really neat dichotomy in the revenge movies and like say Beyond the Black Rainbow, where it's just straight horror thriller. You know,
Right.
like that movie's so claustrophobic, and then the way that these two mesh, it's like those Venn diagrams
Yeah.
that you see where everything meets in the middle. You know, there's like this perfect sphere where, and it's so awesome that you said that she's leaving or she's entering Mandy, and then he's leaving. That makes
Entering Mandy.
Oh yeah.
that's so awesome. Yeah, like she escapes and is running off into possibly the same forest that they live in. You know, like that's just such a. I love that we can, whether it's true or not.
We can estimate what's really what might be happening.
It's
We'll
so
never know.
cool. That's why I can't wait to talk about Hereditary. That one, I'm going to throw up all over this mic on. I am so excited for that.
We could actually spin the podcast off into separate episodes where we have our regular podcast, but we do other episodes just directly on movies too. I see a lot of people doing that now. Like we have
I
all
would
this
love it.
time.
Yeah.
We have all this time to do this. I know we're going to probably wrap up in a minute, but on the Vengeance note, I watched this movie last week. I posted a review of it. It's such a piece of trash, but it's so good. It's called Death Kiss. I should have actually done this as my suggested viewing. It stars Robert Kovacs.
AKA.
His new name, they're calling him Robert Bronzy because he looks so much like Charles Bronson.
He's
Right.
Balls Tronson.
He looks exactly like him. He sounds like him. The movie is god awful. I'm not going to lie, but I still gave it like a 4 out of 5 because it gets the whole Death Wish thing down so
Has he been in
pat.
other movies before, this guy?
He has another, or wait, I think he had a Western out in which he played the Charles Bronson character
What?
too.
That's so funny.
It's really cool. No budget, like literally no budget, probably in the thousands of dollars.
Yeah. He's going to
Where
start
did-
Bronson exploitation, like Bruce exploitation.
Dude. I mean, the
he
gun
looks
scenes,
just like him.
He looks exactly like him.
You're right. He's Bronson or Bartles Tronson. I can't.
Bartles Johnson. No, it's really cool, and like people are really into it. I mean, the movie, like I said, the movie's garbage.
Yeah.
The script makes no sense, but they've got rape, and they've got people getting their heads blown off, and people getting their chests blown open, and all kinds of crazy violence. It makes no sense. It's just like the end of the original Death Wish movies, where they just like devolved into like nothing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
All the canon ones.
But he actually has the physicality down too. He like moves and
Yeah.
like holds the guns just like Bronson
I was gonna
did.
say there's
It's crazy.
the picture, the thumbnail that you show. I was like, get out! And then the whole trailer, I was like, this is not the same man. Like,
No.
it's so crazy. But there's I like the and same thing with Nicolas Cage. I like the resurgence that we're seeing here in these revenge films.
Oh,
you
hell
know?
yeah. It's
That's
awesome.
so awesome. We had John Wick 2, now we have Mandy, and I would even go as far as to say as Mad Max Fury Road was also a vengeance movie, you know?
Yeah.
So and then going even further back, the original Mad Max is totally like
The original one, yes.
Right, it's a
yeah.
pioneer of revenge film. So
Yeah.
I
Do you
just
have
think it's
anything
super
else?
neat.
Do we have anything else you want to say about Mandy?
Man,
I think
watch
we
it.
covered. Yeah, it's just good. It's on
Yeah.
Amazon.
Yeah, for
You can-
like
and
$7.
iTunes?
$4.99 now.
Oh, really?
even better.
Yeah. I just looked it up. It's $4.99 on Amazon.
I can't wait for it to get a Blu-ray.
Support Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, this
he
is
needs your money.
It
Really,
comes out
this
next
is-
month on Blu-ray, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a couple weeks.
Is it gonna come out on 4K?
Maybe. I
It's
don't
gonna
know.
like the Blu-ray is only like $14.99.
Yeah, the Blu-ray is super cheap too.
So we want to prevent Nicolas Cage from having to set up a
Seriously,
Patreon or a
Yeah.
GoFundMe.
I think, and speaking of Mom and Dad, I loved Mom and Dad.
I hated that
I
movie.
thought it
I
was
liked Mom
so
and Dad,
neat.
too.
That was bad.
Well, I liked him in it mostly. I thought he was great, and I'm a fan of Selma Blair too. So, but this is a really, really nice turn for Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
I think.
Well,
As
he
like,
gets to kind of be himself again and not be
Yeah.
like. I mean,
Because Mom and Dad is meme Cage movie.
oh,
Like,
totally.
Kinda, yeah,
Totally.
It's totally like, it's like there's no subtlety to it. It's just, do crazy stuff, Nicolas Cage. He's like, okay. But, it's Mandy's like so much a better use of like that power
And I
that
think
he
he
has.
knows
Cage
that
power.
because he's actually out doing
Yes.
press for this movie.
I think
Yeah.
he's proud of it.
Yeah,
I
very
think he's
much
like,
so.
hey, you know what? Maybe I can kind of pull a John Travolta.
Yeah.
Oh.
Where Travolta came back for a while. Now
Yeah.
he sucks again. But, maybe Nick Cage is ready for that.
Second wind.
I
Second
think
win,
I think
yeah.
a lot of it too is that people are expecting that mean Cage.
Yeah.
And then when they're not getting it, they're like, "Oh, like it's an actual surprise." They're like, "Oh, so this is what you really do." Okay. You're not just a super famous dude from a super famous family,
Yeah.
Right.
with all this money. Apparently not, but
He doesn't have any of that Coppola money, though.
no, of course
No.
not. But I'm just saying,
He was ousted long ago.
Poor Cage.
I
Poor
know.
Cage.
And he was talking about too that he was actually in a wheelchair, and he was like, this movie was, I don't know what happened. He was in a serious accident or something. He was
Okay.
in a wheelchair, and this movie, because he had to do such physical things, like that's why you see his leg, he's limping a little bit, because
Right,
he
right.
actually had an injured leg in real life.
Huh.
And it motivated him to
Poor
like,
little bird.
yeah, to get like better. And he actually, Panos wanted him to play Jeremiah.
Yeah.
And I was like, get out of
you
no
know who
way.
else produced this?
Elijah Wood.
Yeah,
That's
Elijah
one thing
Wood.
We didn't even, how did we not mention it in the first
Oh,
place?
yeah.
He
Elijah
produced
Wood.
it. I was like, what?
I'm so glad. Thank you. And,
Elijah Wood is all over the place now.
and Nicolas Cage, the first thing he says is, I would like to thank Elijah Wood because he made this movie possible.
Elijah Wood likes weird shit too. He was in
does.
that
He was in
Maniac,
Maniac
remake.
movie.
That was really good, I thought too.
I guess
Oh,
he said that him and Elijah Wood were on a set together, Trust.
I see
And
that.
they bonded over old school horror movies.
Oh,
And
cool.
like that was their niche.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I was like, ooh, that Q&A thing is super cool. I
yeah,
can't
I'm gonna have to
remember.
watch it.
Just look up Q&A, Mandy Q&A with Kevin Smith or something, because it was really cool. And Kevin Smith looks really good, so
Oh yeah, he's all skinny now.
good for you, man.
All
I'm
right,
happy
you
to hear it.
assholes. Make sure to
Jeez.
check out our full episode that we did on Nicolas Cage a couple months ago.
Oh, yeah.
It's actually a really cool episode.
It is a really cool
If I
one.
do say so myself.
Yeah.
We'll be back next week with episode 97. We have absolutely no idea what it's going to be about.
But it'll
So-
be October.
It's gonna be about
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it
So,
will be October
Halloween.
We're
1.
going to be
stuff.
starting Halloween stuff,
Yeah,
guys.
Halloween stuff starts next week. Yay. All right,
hip.
everybody give us a round of applause.
Good job, guys.
Yay,
Great
we're
conversation.
proud
Thank
of
you.
you.
golf clap.
Have a great night, buttholes. Bye.
Visit us at www.themoviesleuth.com and find The Movie Sleuth on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and iTunes.